I threw out my Ateez merch so I could bring you an unbiased review of Kingdom performances from week 1. So you better subscribe because Kevin looks like he's gonna pee on them. Hi, welcome. My name is Angelina and today I wanted to do a ranking of the performances on Kingdom for week 1. And if you guys like this idea, I can continue to do it as they release performances. Now, I'm so excited to give you my thoughts on these performances. I know a lot of us have been waiting for this to finally be released. So this is going to, of course, be as unbiased as it gets. Obviously, it's still based very much on what I consider a good performance, but unbiased in the sense that, like, obviously my faves are not going to make it to the top because they're my faves. And if you don't believe me, then go watch my Queendom rankings. You will see my ultimate bias in my K-pop career didn't even make it to number 1. She's in timeout right now, but it doesn't matter. But I digress. If you are interested in seeing how I would rank these performances from number 1 all the way to number 6, then keep on watching. And don't forget to like, comment, and share this video with friends you don't have. And also, before Kevin does some real damage, here is a little disclaimer, however. Yes, I may be an alleged 18, but I do not follow the logical rules of K-pop standing. I will throw my faves under the bus if I need to. And this ranking is also based on what I like in a performance. So if you love when your groups lip sync, then go on and live your 4th gen life. No one is trying to stop you. Obviously, I'm joking. Half joking. But I will be taking live vocals into account, but it will not make or break whether a group will make it to number 1. Because I do want to look into a wide variety of things. I want to look into the choreography, I want to look into their energy, I want to look into what original aspects they brought forth within their performances. Because someone could be singing perfectly live, but if their performance isn't memorable, then I'm also going to take that into consideration. So without further ado, welcome to my 96 scandal. So we're going to start at the end. We're going to start with number 6. And in number 6, we have SF9. So SF9's performance starts out with this guy holding a piece of glass, then he turns it over and the floor goes blue as if maybe some water had been dropped. Looks very mystical. But then it actually takes us almost an entire minute before we get into the actual performance. There's a lot of walking going on, and I think that's the downfall of this performance because it took them so long just to set up the performance, and by the time we get to the actual performance, it's almost over. So when I say how much time it takes up to set up a scene, it's basically the time it takes to when the intro to Kingdom is ended, so around 5-second point, to when the performance actually starts, where it tangibly starts. So if the group is just walking or not really doing anything or just kind of setting up the scene, I don't consider it part of the performance. And I feel like for a short performance, you're wasting a lot of time if you're taking up to a minute to set that up because you don't have much time to actually give that performance. As for live vocals, I personally don't think I really heard any. It's hard to really show you any examples without going to copyright hell. Mnet will block this worldwide. Or at least in South Korea and Japan, but I don't want a blocked video. But for this performance and a lot of performances, actually, I think they did make use of live pre-recorded vocals. So an LAR performance, if you watched some of my videos before, we've talked about this. If not, you can check out my KBS Song Festival review. So basically pre-recorded vocals that members would lip sync over during the performance. However, there are some groups where you actually hear their live vocals on top of those pre-recorded vocals. So there were some people who did sing live. But for SF9, I didn't really catch any of that. I do have to admit, at the 1 minute and 30-second mark, I do think I heard someone's voice wavering ever so slightly, but other than that, I didn't really feel that energy from the vocals. So that's another reason why they ranked lower. Now, I do like the idea of the performance. They looked very cool while they were walking down this runway with their resting bitch faces. But within that, I also felt like they didn't really bring a concept to life with this. You know, they're just wearing suits and they're doing a choreography. I'm not really feeling an entire storyline. You know, we had that little bit at the beginning, but otherwise, in terms of storyline and props, we do see a lot more of that in the other performances. So that is why SF9 is ranked at number 6. Now, please keep in mind, this absolutely does not mean that they're bad performers. They are not bad performers. They have good energy and they have fans. I mean, you know, they're doing something right, obviously. Just for this type of competition, it wasn't really a performance that I personally thought really, went there. So let's move on to number 5. So this is really, it's really weird that I'm ranking this group number 5 because I did really enjoy the performance. It was beautiful. But just like SF9, I feel like for this type of competition, it didn't really fit. So in number 5, we have B2B. I'm not gonna lie, when I first saw like the intro to the performance, we see 4 different mic stands just alone. I thought it was gonna be really boring. Obviously, the other groups are going to do really difficult choreography and they're going to, bring their best foot forward. How are you going to bring vocalists into this and then have them compared to dancers? Just vocals alone compared to dance, or compared to dance and vocals, I feel like you would have to rate them on very different scales. Obviously, this isn't a cutthroat performance where they're jumping around doing backflips, but at the same time, they have very beautiful live vocals. So in that sense, it actually feels a little bit unfair. And it doesn't really make the most sense, but I digress. So for B2B, it took them a good 15 seconds to really set up their scene. So was I impressed by their vocals? I mean, absolutely. These vocals are stunning. They are live. You can really feel the emotion that they bring forward. But at the same time, if they were lip syncing for that, like not even dancing, just standing there lip syncing, it would be a little fishy like. That being said, as beautiful as the vocals were, there wasn't much to this performance. They didn't really make use of the stage all that much. Really it's in the vocals that everything resided. And again, I don't think that's really fair to compare this type of performance with like very choreography based performances. But I don't know what they're capable of. This is obviously just an introduction. I'm really excited to see them cover another group song, or see them do a choreography eventually. But in terms of just these performances on a ranking, it definitely takes number 5. Moving on to number 4 in this ranking, we have Ikon. So the performance starts with them all in this interesting position, and it took them around 25 seconds to really get into it. The lights are red, it seems very mysterious, but then they get into the actual performance and it changes to a very cool style. So one of the reasons they're a little bit lower is lack of live vocals, but they definitely do make it up with their energy. So here's a little bit of an example. You see Bobby, his mic is literally not near his mouth whatsoever, but you still hear him super clearly. But then at that same time, he has incredible energy. Like, his stage presence is amazing. So yes, there was a lack of live vocals, but they kind of made up for it with their energy. And I know we can say B2B really had like the most different performance out of everyone, but I also think Ikon contributed something different as well, because everyone else kind of had these really dark vibes, very mysterious vibes, but then Ikon, you could just see they were having fun on stage, and I really vibed with that. As for choreography, I also enjoyed it a lot as well, but that is also a little bit of their downfall, that they only did, I don't want to say simple choreography because like it is very intriguing, but the next groups that we're going to get into, we're going to see that they have props, we're going to see that they have more of a storyline to it, so this is why Ikon gets number 4. Choosing number 3 was very difficult for me because I think number 3 and number 2 are kind of on the same wavelength. One of them brought forth amazing live vocals, like the energy is unmatched, except maybe B2B, but like, vocals and choreography. But then the other group brought forth like a really cool choreography and some live vocals too. So for one, the choreography stood out a lot more, was definitely a lot more interesting, and they had some live vocals. But then the other one, the choreography was less intriguing, but their live vocals were top notch. And that group is Ateez. So Ateez is at number 3. I know, someone take my 18 card away. Like, there's just too much evidence against me at that point. Like, I will give it to you. You can have it. But just know number 3 and number 2 were really like neck and neck. And I will describe to you why Ateez ended up ranking number 3 despite those vocals. So the performance starts out with this imagery of a ship, then Hongjung looking like he's hurt and the members crawling around like zombies on the floor. Now, we could say that this performance took like a whole 15 seconds to actually start, but I don't consider that this performance actually started until at least 45 seconds in, because this whole intro to me was just a little bit too weird and I didn't vibe with it in the slightest, and I'm sorry. I just have to call this out as it is. Everyone is on the ground, it's all serious, and then Hongjung looks at the camera from a bird's eye point of view and he just says Hakuna Matata. I lost it. I had to pause it. I had to take a break. I was like, why did he say what? I feel like it totally ruined the moment. It's seriously, how do you, should I risk the copyright claim just to show you this? I won't, but just like he yells out, he just says Hakuna Matata, so it's after the whole Hakuna Matata atrocity that I think the actual performance starts. And I would appreciate it if we could all just be on the same page about this. I know it's Wave reimagined, and I promised I wouldn't talk about, the sound of the songs or how I feel about the songs themselves, because I think it's a little irrelevant. Just look at the performances, that's it. But what? Rant aside, that was grievance number 1. But like I said, if we can all collectively agree that the performance starts at the 40-second mark, everything's pretty good after that. But regardless, it still took them way too damn long to get into this performance, which made it feel so short. That being said, they definitely did make amazing use of the stage. They cut, not really cuts because it was a one-shot, continuous shot thing. Everyone kind of did that. So we had Hongjung spinning the camera to 3 other members on one side of the stage, which then went to other members at the complete other end of the stage. So they definitely made amazing use of the stage. But let's talk again about those vocals. You could hear screaming. I think it was sound because I didn't see anyone's lips really moving and I couldn't really see his lips. But like that screaming of go away was just so intense, and I was like, okay, I will forgive the Hakuna Matata because of this. Then we spin to the other side of the stage and you hear that struggle. I've never heard Wooyoung struggle that much. This was beautiful. Ateez, aside from B2B, were the livest group in my opinion. At the 1 minute and 13-second mark, you really hear that like he can't finish his line. He's struggling to get the breath to finish his line. Beautiful. Then of course, Sam stole the show at the end because of his expressions. Like I genuinely believed that he was on a ship that was about to be attacked and it was a life or death situation that he had to go get that fire to alert people. Like he really played that part so well. But then my grievance number 2 is the ending. Like I said, they took too long to really get into the performance, so at the end it felt super rushed because Jong was singing his part and he didn't really have time in the performance to really have his part shine through because he's already in position for San to kind of jump on his back. So I was like, had you just started a little bit earlier, maybe he could have had his little time in the limelight and it wouldn't have looked so awkward because his face is scrunched up, he's screaming, but his arms are like intertwined with other members and it just felt a little rushed, a little odd to me. So that is why Ateez have made it to number 3. Let's move on to number 2, which is, drumroll please, Stray Kids. Was there a drumroll? I don't think there's a drumroll sound in Final Cut Pro. So for Stray Kids, their performance starts out with a little Hyunjin solo, and the camera goes up to the ceiling, and then when it comes back down, you see all of the members. I love this effect. Like I mentioned earlier, the performances were one continuous shot. I love continuous shot films. Not that I watch them, but like I like the idea of them. Do you know what I mean? I have no patience, but I like the idea of them. Russian Ark is a movie that uses that. That's the only example I have. But anyways, back to the choreography. So when the camera comes back down from the ceiling, you see suddenly all of the members have appeared and they have these very animalistic vibes, and then the lights go out and then you see they have lights in their mouths that are glowing green. Remember that because I think that's an aspect that they really should have taken advantage of later on in the stage. And for Stray Kids, it really took them literally 1 or 2 seconds to get straight into the performance. So you could really see everything they wanted to show you in the little time frame that they had. They wasted absolutely no time. So from here, I was thinking it was going to be another LAR type of performance, particularly because of Felix. I feel like fans are going to say that his voice is just too deep, so you can't hear him over his backup track. Either way, I couldn't hear him, and it was very much just one single smooth voice, so the pre-recorded live vocals. But then later on in the performance, we did start hearing the rappers, so you could hear the rappers' actual voices and the backup track, of course. You could definitely hear that difference. For example, there's a part between Felix and Han where they're kind of alternating parts. So Felix will say a line, Han will say a line, Felix will say a line, Han will say a line, and you really hear that difference because Felix's lines are just one continuous smooth voice, but then Han's lines, you hear 2 voices. So his live vocals and the pre-recorded vocals. And because they're side by side, that's really where you see that inconsistency, where you hear that imbalance, you hear that difference. I do have to say, Stray Kids used the stage so well. They even integrated the seating area into their choreography, which I thought was so cool. At the point where the camera goes to the seating area, you just see San nodding, and I'm like, it was funny. I do have a little critique though, which kind of goes hand in hand with the praise that I have, because they did have knives within their choreography, which was so cool, but at the same time, it really took me a few watches to really understand what they were trying to do with the knives. So it's kind of like that hat trick where you throw a hat from far and then suddenly someone else has the hat. They did that with knives, so it looked like they were throwing the knife and then suddenly someone else had it, but they didn't actually throw the knife. Do you know what I mean? I found it a little bit difficult to catch those details because the lighting was so bad. It was so dark so you could barely see the knives, but that knife choreography was cool as hell. So this is why I think they should have used like LED lights with the knives like they did at the beginning with their mouths. Because the idea was so cool and I really appreciated it, but I couldn't really see it, so it wasn't as visually appealing, but I knew that the thought was there, so I appreciated it, but I couldn't really see it. But yeah, the choreography to me stood out a lot. There were some live vocals, really great energy, so that is why Stray Kids made it to number 2. Now I guess we can all imagine who has made it to the lovely number 1 spot. This was surprising to me too because I have to say, didn't hear any live vocals in this stage. But hear me out. So the Boyz have made it obviously to number 1 and they caught my attention within the first few seconds. The first few seconds I feel is like a really critical part. You know, you can spend time to build something up and that can be intriguing, but for me, right off the bat, super interesting. And they as well took like 1 or 2 seconds to just get right into it. Absolutely no time wasted. So we start out with 2 members and it's super somber and kind of a little bit creepy. And then everyone comes into frame and then we have the starting point of the choreography where they have already like a super interesting move. We have this one guy whose back is kind of bent on another member's legs and then he ends up getting up and doing a flip. So from that moment on, there are so many little details to the stage that I think just make it amazing. Like, I'm totally willing to look past the lip syncing because of these details. So we see different units. We see 3 members here dancing, then we move to 5 members on the other side, and they're bringing us through the entirety of the stage. The choreography is intense, it's super eye-catching, but they do lose a little bit of points because of the lack of live vocals. It kills me, but hear me out. The thing is, within these performances, there is like 100% chance that they are all singing live, you just can't really hear them. But at the end of the day, if I can't hear you, then I don't feel that energy and, you know, like it is what it is. I just found that this performance gave so much visual stimulation, like not only bringing us from one corner of the stage to another corner of the stage, but then we're zooming in on one member and then we have 2 arms, like literally playing with the camera. Like they're literally making such great use of nothing. And I mean nothing in the sense that like they don't have props, you know, they don't have custom made stages, like they're making the best out of their own bodies. And then at one point they even changed the entire style of the choreography to where it seems even more contemporary. So again, not only are they bringing us different places, they're playing with the camera, but they're offering us a level of diversity that I felt was just unmatched. So though the live vocals really weren't it for me, I'm totally willing to look past that because this stage, there's again so many details that make it amazing. You know, how can I let this stage go down the drain because of 5 seconds of lip syncing? I can't, which is why the Boyz have made it to number 1 in my unofficial ranking for Kingdom. Further proof that I am not biased, god damn it, because I really wanted Ateez to be first, obviously. I was like, you know, they took Wave and like they made it darker, and you know, the live vocals, and you know, I just love them so much, they need to be number 1. I was like, no, Angelina, don't do that. So now my heart is broken. My fandom has disowned me, but damn it, the Boyz deserve it. So I wanted to thank you guys so much for watching this video. Do not forget to leave in the comments down below your ranking from 1 to 6. And if you want to share more than that, feel free to do so. I'm actually super excited for this show. Not gonna lie, I don't have the most patience in the world, so I don't know that I'll watch like the show, but I'm totally here for the performances. And if you really like this video, please interact with it and let me know that you like it so I can continue to do them. You can also join my channel members by clicking the join button next to the subscribe button. These are the lovely individuals who help support my channel on a monthly basis. It means the world to me, so thank you so much. As for me, I'm gonna get going, so I'll see you guys next time. Bye!